Rubric family, how's everybody doing today? Sunday afternoon for all of you. We have more coverage for you guys because that's what we do. We love professional wrestling. And today we have a 2-day event, Wrestle Kingdom.
Hmm.
So John Paul and I are right here ready to talk about 2 days of absolutely great matches, phenomenal storylines, and one of the greatest pay-per-views so far because it's the only pay-per-view that we have for
Yeah.
2020. So, guys, as you can see, we have a new look. We have, new things for our videos. So we hope you guys like it. We hope you like the layout. We try to do our best to make the channel look, better for you guys. So please, if you have anything, just let us know. John Paul and I watch Wrestle Kingdom, and I think that so far a really, really great show, right, John Paul?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was one of those things. Wrestle Kingdom never disappoints. When you watch it, even if you're not like us and we don't follow the storylines, we don't know all the wrestlers, maybe as well as we should because they're all such great talents. But you can still enjoy it. You still watch it, and it's still between both days 6 7 hours of amazing wrestling. And at least they're nice enough, unlike WrestleMania, where they split it up, and we don't have to sit there for 7 hours straight and watch all a long pay-per-view. It's nice how they split it up, and make it a 2-day event.
I agree. And this is the first time that like a wrestling promotion does that. I think
Hmm.
like a 2 day. They split it up in 2 days for like a big, big, big name event because like Wrestle Kingdom is like their version of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
think I think that like that's what maybe the same pattern that WWE should follow. It should
Hmm.
be the same exact thing. Have two days of beautiful wrestling like we did today. And I know that Jean Paul is a little sad because one of the most emblematic figures in professional wrestling, one of the best wrestlers of all time in the discussion will always be Jushin Thunder Liger. And
Yep.
we know that Jean Paul is a big fan. You guys can watch the Wrestling Hall. And unfortunately, his career as an active wrestler is over, and
Is
it ended
done.
today. It's done, finish, and we're gonna talk about everything. But
Yep.
guys, always subscribe. Thank you for the ones that are subscribing. Please watch our videos. So, Jean Paul, day one of Wrestle Kingdom. The first match that we have is actually the guy that we mentioned just a few seconds ago, Yushin Thunder Liger. He had a multi-man tag match, and it was he was actually partnering with like an old friends of his. I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say like it's a lot of people who he faced, or like early on, all throughout his career. You had tons of different guys. If you want to run through them here,
Yeah, but
quick, and then
I'm gonna try to do my best to
yeah,
make
we'll
the
do we'll
names
do, we'll
look.
do our best.
We're gonna do our best. I'm sorry guys in advance, but it was Yushi Thanger Liger with Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, Tiger Mask against Naoki Sano, Shinhiro Tani, Tatsuchiro Takaiwa, and Raisuke Taguchi. It was the first match that we had for Wrestle Kingdom. The match, like you said, a lot of ex-rivals, friends of Liger. Like it was a quick match. Everybody kind of did a little bit of their repertoire, and it felt
Yeah,
good.
that's the thing. Because I mean, like, you know, Liger's been wrestling for what 30 some years, I think they
Yes,
said.
yes.
So it's like all these guys have been wrestling around the same time as him, and some of them have retired. And he said like, oh, I want you to come out here and wrestle this match and all that. So they were doing it all like it was all for his honor, and they all got their spots in. Great Sasuke, he was able to hit some moves. I think he went for like a moonsault or what, a swanton was
Like the
it? A
Swanton,
swanton.
yeah. He
Yeah,
did a
and he missed
Swanton.
that. And like, he's no spring chicken and to go for a swanton, so you got to give it up to these guys for, doing what they did. But like you said, it was short. Every guy had their spot. Okay, we do a move here. But the one thing I will say is these guys, if you take WWE guys that are this age, I don't think they'll be going out there and diving through the ropes and doing some stuff like these guys were doing.
Some of them, yeah, these suicide dives and stuff like that. And like you said, I think they look in much better shape than like
Hmm.
the guys from like they will be like
Yeah, I mean,
comparable to the WWE legends.
don't get me wrong, because I still love Le Champion, but some of these guys, I felt like in their age, they looked a little bit better shape than Jericho.
Yeah, they look better than Le Champion. So I mean, and like you said, they did the spots and see like they still could go. Some of them I felt that they could still put like a decent match. I'm not
Hmm.
telling you okay they're gonna put a 5-star classic, but at least a three,
Hmm.
2.5, it would have been decent for them. And like you said, it's all in the honor for Yushin Thunder Liger. Everybody was just celebrating his career. and saying in a way, thank you for all the years that you put on in this beautiful sport. I was actually checking out. He's probably wrestled in every single promotion in the world.
Oh yeah, especially like
WWE.
on this last tour, he was wrestling like I shouldn't say like real small places. Like he's not wrestling in front of like 10 people, but he's wrestling like Liger on this retirement tour. He was wrestling like you said, pretty much every little promotion. Like he
Yeah.
went everywhere.
Yeah,
You
so
know.
that's really cool to see, and like well, the team from Liger's team ended up losing, but
Yeah.
it was just nice to see like everybody just in that thankful mentality, being
Hmm.
like, hey, we appreciate what you did for our business, and you'll always be one of the great ones of all time.
Oh
So we
yeah.
have that. And moving on, Jean Paul, to the next match, we have Suzuki Gun. That is formed by Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and El Desperado. Defeated Los Ingobernables de Japón, Sanada, Evil Shingo, Takagi, and Bushi. And that was via submission match. So this was pretty decent, like to the point. A lot of these guys we don't really like, we're not familiar with. So it
Yeah.
was just pretty simple.
Yeah, that's
I
the
don't
thing.
think.
The only guy I really knew was like Zack Sabre Jr. But like just from what we saw, it was good, but it was just, it was an early card match. It was, we were waiting for the main course.
We was waiting for the main courses, but before we got the main courses, we got also Chaos. That it was Hiroki Goto and Tohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Yoshihashi. They defeated the Bullet Club, and that's it. That's somebody that we know is Kenta. For the
Hmm.
ones that used to watch WWE, that's Hideo Atami, Bad Luck Fail, Yujiro Takahashi, and Chase Owens. Yeah, they're the new Bullet Club, or like they go to sleep club. I think that's what they're called now, and
Yeah.
they unfortunately in day one they had to get the pin for that. So there was also like a pretty nice match, like showcasing everybody, and I think Kenta looks really good now. He's not the
Yeah.
same version of Hideo Itami that we got in WWE.
And that's
And
that's the
we
thing that's badass to see about him. And I'll go more into this over the day two coverage where Kenta had just a singles match. But the whole story with him is they just say that like he was one of those guys where if he would have stayed in Japan, he could have been the IWGP heavyweight champion. Like he had all this stuff going for him, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the United States. I'm gonna try." Like he thought he would be a superstar over there, but instead they were like, they didn't think anything of him.
oh
And then he
yeah,
got hurt. Like he would have been somebody, but then he got hurt and then kept getting hurt. And it was like he said he was just like really humbled. Like he went from like a superstar to like a nobody.
hmm.
And now coming back, now we're seeing, him kind of get, in the spotlight he deserves. They lost here, but from things to come at the end of the day, Kenta's looking pretty good.
Yeah, well, like one of the
So,
things that I agree with you is like he has all the talent in the world, but unfortunately he kept getting hurt.
mhm.
Like it was bad, like injury after injury. So every time he tried to come back, he will get injured, and the injury will be even, more severe than the one before. So he will
Yeah.
have to waste more time. So that's one of the things that kept him from showing all his ability in WWE. But
Mhm.
moving forward, we have the IWGP Tag Team Championship is Finn Juice, David Finlay, and that's Fifth Finlay's son with Julius Robinson. They defeated the Guerrillas of Destiny via pinfall to win the titles. So we have new tag team champions on New Japan Pro Wrestling. This match we saw it, Jean Paul. It was really cool, and
Mhm.
back and forth. Like I didn't know that. Like David Finlay, he's actually a really nice wrestler. Good,
Yeah.
yeah. And
And
Juice
then,
Robinson, yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and Juice Robinson, I've, from the little bit I've seen him in NXT and stuff back in the day, I always thought he was good. He was just cursed with just weird, shitty gimmicks. He was being like an environmentalist, like way before Daniel Bryan was saving the planet, but he was more of like a hippie, where Bryan was like an angry vegan. So, but the guy has all the talent in the world, and just like seeing him here, it's like he comes out. He looks like an '80s porn star. He looks almost like Joey Ryan. He's got the mustache, like the curly hair, and it's like, who is this guy? But I mean, he's good. Now the right hand of God, the left hand of God, just like the punches, or I don't like punches for being like a signature or a finisher, but they're just like his signature, so I don't shit on it too much. But I mean, he's such a great wrestler, and
He reminds me of like
it's
the women's right a little bit. Like you said,
yeah,
it's not believable. It's
yeah, or
like
like like
because
the
I always
KO
think,
punch or
example, when you
something.
say those kind of things, is like why this punch is different from the one that you threw before.
Yeah. Now the only thing I will say though, in Japan, I know because they are saying it to Moxley a lot. Um, you got to do the open hand. you can't punch in Japan. Closed fist is like illegal. So then like maybe that's why when he hits like the knockout punch, it's like or the right hand of God, whatever he calls it, or left hand of God, because I think he does it with either one. So it's
He's
like
ambidextrous. There you
yeah,
go.
so that is like it's more devastating because you don't see like closed fists a lot in Japan because they do the open hand chops.
Ah,
So
okay. See, for example,
yeah,
see, that's new, and there's a different style, and I think that's when WWE wrestlers go to New Japan and vice versa. They have to transition and understand
yeah,
this kind of new rulings. So
yeah.
that's
But it
pretty cool
was
to know.
but like one thing we said yesterday, like the Gorillas of Destiny, they'd almost kind of remind you now they're all like the same family, but it kind of remind you like of the Usos,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
like New
It's like
Japan's Usos.
a more rebel, like more
Yeah.
to your face version of the Usos. And
Oh
like you
yeah.
said, wouldn't that be legit? Have a match between those two teams? They're
Hmm.
all family. They come from the same root, and then just have two good tag teams against each other to for family dominance supremacy.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely
The
great.
only thing that we said is bullshit is they all do the splash.
Oh yeah, they all do the splash because of Superfly. All
Yep.
all do the same thing and all do super kick. And then you guys watch the Smackdown video that we did. It's like everybody does super kick, one of the most overdone moves in
Everybody
right
does
now in current
the
professional
super
wrestling.
kick, the cutter, and the Canadian destroyer.
Yeah, yeah,
If you
yeah.
can do those three, you're good.
You're good. You're just pitched to be a superstar.
Yep,
You're
your main
just
event.
destined to be a main event player in professional wrestling nowadays. Give me some variety, and we're gonna go with that. So keep that in mind, guys, as the video keep moving along. And this is like okay, the main course a little bit.
Hmm.
United States IWGP Championship, Texas Death Match, John freaking Moxley against Lance Archer.
The Death
Great match.
Rider.
Yeah, a good match. Different for me because it has like the toys right away. They use the chairs, they use the tables. They went at it. Lance Archer with looking like Shawn Michaels in WrestleMania 14. I think I told you that
Oh
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing and everything. The red pants. But the match itself, we watched it. Like, so did you enjoy it? You think it was good?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was just a little short. Now, I mean, obviously, a Texas death match, you're not gonna drag it out like back in the day, and you're not gonna like really beat the shit out of each other, and because like it's a loaded card, you have a lot of stuff to get to. But the whole story here was Moxley was the U.S. champ, and then he couldn't fly in because there was tsunamis or something going on, so he had to
The typhoon,
the
yes,
Typhoon, yeah. So he had to drop the belt, and then he couldn't defend it against Juice Robinson. So then Lance Archer was inserted in that match, and he won it. So with all that like funny business going on, like my whole thought going into it was, is Moxley going to win it again? And then is he going to drop it to Juice then the next night? Because I didn't know. I thought this pay per view, like the day one and the day two, like day one set up day two, and it
yes.
was it was almost all the same players from day one were on day two. I was thinking we were going to see like maybe one or two things from day one transition over, and then the rest was all going to be new. So it was almost we were making the joke like, oh, WrestleMania, they make their show 7 hours so they can get the whole roster on the card. We're making the same joke that like New Japan does the same thing, but New Japan, they made their show 7 hours and they only got the same guys on both days.
Yeah.
So it was like, what I mean, but that's the thing, you should focus only on your main guys because I don't want to see like a Dana Brooke or a B Team and all those other losers on WrestleMania. I want to see the people who really deserve it, and that's what I think New Japan did. They had all the guys who deserve it. And speaking of that, I think Moxley deserves, to win the United States Championship in this
Well,
match. Like Lance Archer, like I mean, he's good, and I think he'll be one of those guys because clearly he's a mainstay. Moxley, they just brought him in, whether there's a New Japan deal in the works or whether it's just to pop the ratings to get New Japan hot in America because now they're off Access TV. So now they really need to keep hooking that audience to subscribe on New Japan World or whatever their website is called. So it was a brutal match. There was some spots. The one thing New Japan I noticed, their cameras are a little funky. Where like how I always talk about the camera angles, and we even saw like I think Moxley was doing knees to
yeah.
Archer's face, and they were
And you
about
could even he never connect.
yeah, they were
Yep.
about this far away from hitting his face, and it's like, dude, it's a Texas death match. I think if you bring your knee up and it touches his chin, you can pull back. You can have it
Yeah.
where it hits like that, and
Yeah.
it's not killing the guy. Like, come on, it's a Texas death match. Come on. So that to me, I was a little like, really. But other than that, it was a great spot when he hit. which I like the Death Rider more than the Paradigm Shift. When he hit that onto those tables, onto the outside for the, when
And
to win
yep,
the
and it's
match,
kind of like
that was the
it wasn't a pinfall or anything. It was more like a count out to win.
yeah
It
you
was
took
like
yeah
to the
to
count of 10.
yeah
Yeah,
that's how you actually had to win the match. It was
yeah.
by a count out.
Oh yeah, like you said. Well, amplifying everything that you said. First of all, like you said, a pay per view like this that is your main pay per view of the year. Not everybody needs to be featured on your card. It
Hmm.
should be it's your best pay per view. Therefore, your best players need to be in it. So that's something that at least New Japan understood. Although we did make that joke that like, oh, everybody's just in multi-man matches, so they can be featured. But I feel that, like you said, the main players were in the main spots, and that's what we want to see. And like you
Yeah.
said, the match itself was really good. I wanted a little bit more blood. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I like gory matches. It's just
No, I
my
mean,
taste. But
I
it's
mean,
the name of
I'm
the match, Texas
yeah.
Dead Match.
I was the same way. Like I said, it was a little short, but I understand that. But just because it was short doesn't mean it still couldn't have been good and bloody and gory.
Yes.
Like these, it doesn't need to be Mortal Kombat. They don't need to be ripping each other's arms off.
And not
But
three
you could do so.
fatality every,
Yeah.
back to
But
back.
like, what was like the bloodiest thing? I think Lance Archer, he has like a helmet with spikes, and he took that and he was like raking it over Moxley's head. But I don't
Yeah.
even think it broke his skin.
No, no.
So
I
it's
think
like,
he could have been, a little better, but like you said,
yeah.
probably thinking that he had to defend the championship the night after. Then I
Mm,
feel that that's why, like, okay, let's not go too crazy here because tomorrow you have to be, fighting again.
yeah.
So, and probably also they probably have like a kind of like a deal because AEW will be involved, meaning,
Mm.
hey, make sure you don't injure my guy because if not, there will be some,
But see, that's my whole thing. Where like I understand all that. I understand like if you send one of your best players to another team to use, you're not gonna want them to beat up that guy. You're gonna want your player back in 100% or close to it. But then don't send him over there into a Texas death match and then essentially have it not be anything that crazy.
yeah, well,
You know what I mean? Like don't book it as a Texas death match and then
yeah, it's like
you
don't
don't see any.
do that if
That's
you're
like
not
Hell
gonna.
in the Cell. It's
It's
like
more
when we
like
see
Hell in a
Hell in
Cell. Yeah,
yeah
it's
when
like
we
a
see
street
Hell in the
profit.
Cell and there's nothing extreme about it anymore. So it's
Yes.
like why even do it?
Yes, and see, that's when you and me go along with like the mentality and the logic that is like, okay, don't do this if you're not gonna give me this.
Hmm.
Because it's like, again, Texas in the name itself, dead match.
Yeah,
So
now
it's,
don't like again, like times are different, people are crazier, and then we can move on because like even though we are saying this, it was a decent match. It was pretty good. It's always awesome to see John Moxley doing other things,
yes,
especially in New Japan because when he was Dean Ambrose, we never thought we'd see him in a New Japan ring fighting
yes.
for one of their belts, but when a Texas death match, every time I hear that, I just think of Terry Funk walking out to the ring completely wrapped up in barbed wire from freaking neck to ankles. And he just goes in the ring and he just punches people and he's covered in blood. Like, that's what I think of.
Yeah, like
I don't,
we are used to the other idea, like a
yeah.
different idea of a Texas death match. But like moving what you said, going along with your idea, I think John Moxley is, the hottest guy in professional wrestling right now. And it's
Oh,
so nice
God,
to
yeah.
see, like you said, doing these avenues,
Mm.
AEW, New Japan. He even did more indie stuff when he was just out of WWE. I just saw a meme and he said, remember what I show you. A year can make so much difference in
Yeah,
somebody's
where he
life.
has the gas mask
When we
on.
had, yeah.
Yeah.
So we go to that and see John Moxley winning another title is pretty legit. And I will agree with you. The what is it called? The Death Rider
Yeah.
is so much better than the paradigm shift.
Yeah.
I just like that name better because it
Hmm.
fits the character better. And
I
yeah,
also, I
good.
also like too when New Japan they give guys like nicknames. Like when Jericho, back in the day, like even in Mexico, they do it too. How he was like Lionheart,
Yeah,
Chris Jericho, and then now
yeah,
he's like the Painmaker, and Moxley's the Death Rider. Like I
yeah.
like when they give them like nicknames. Like Tanahashi is the Ace. Like
Yes,
I
the
like when they
Ace.
have nicknames.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I just think
it's
that's cool. Like how Bret Hart was like the Hitman. I mean, obviously not like over here he was the Hitman, but I just like nicknames. I just think that's cool.
it helps your character to build. It gives them
Yeah.
more more taste to it, more
Yeah,
flavor to
and,
the
and,
character.
and it's marketing. Like, are you gonna buy a shirt that just says John Moxley, or are you gonna buy a shirt that says the Death Rider,
And you
John
wouldn't even
Moxley?
need to. Or for example,
Yeah,
you wouldn't even need to add Joh Moxley, as long as you know
yeah,
the dead right. You know it's
yeah,
Joh Moxley. For
yeah,
example, Cien Almas was El Ídolo.
yeah.
It's the idol Andrade Cien Almas. It's
Uh
legit.
huh.
Yeah, exactly. Moving along, Mr. Jean Paul. We had one of the best matches in the light heavyweight division. Is for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Hiromu Takahashi defeated Will Ospreay to become the new champion. What a great match! Phenomenal spot after spot. Will Ospreay is probably, if you tell me like move wise, skill, speed, execution, probably the best wrestler in the world right now. I would say Kenny Omega falls a little short when it comes to Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I would just say for this year because of with Kenny moving over to New Japan, like not from New
AEW.
Japan to AEW, he he isn't like featured as much. He's not the guy because AEW they know he's already established. They're trying to get new guys over, so Kenny's kind of taking a back seat, and then like someone like Will Ospreay is just you know New Japan when they know they have somebody, they they book them and they right to the top and Will Ospreay, like he's one of those guys who this year you could definitely argue and say that he was, the wrestler of the year. We didn't pick him. We picked Adam Cole and Le Champion, but
Yeah.
Will Ospreay is one of those guys who could be right up there. And like you said, it was such a great match, and is one of those things where Will Ospreay is like he's not one of those guys who won't put somebody over.
Oh yeah.
'Cause, but
It,
it was an amazing match.
and Hiromu is a really good wrestler too. So they went
Uh,
at it, and see, like one thing that you always say, they tell stories. They're able to. They're given time. It's like, okay,
mhm.
guys, we're gonna give you like a good 25, 30 minutes. Go out there and tell your story, and that's what we saw. Really good sequences back to back. There was one botch though. There was one botch when Will did that. Where they did that flying drop kick, and then he didn't even connect, and then Hiromu had to like be like, oh,
Yeah.
pretend. So that was a little crappy. And then once again, though, you are saying this, the camera work. The camera is right there, so we could see everything. So that's when like we gotta give credit when credit's due to Dunn,
Kevin Dunn,
to
yeah.
Kevin Dunn, because he doesn't make the botches. Unless it's completely noticeable, we will not see it. But the
Mhm.
match itself, it was just finisher after finisher, pinfall after pinfall. They hit themselves with everything that they got, and even the last sequence when Hiromu hit that move that they didn't even know what the move was. They didn't even know the name of it, because even like the guys that were calling the match, they said he had to pull out something new to put Will Ospreay away. So it was
Yeah.
like kind of like a tombstone into like a Michinoku driver, something different. Although the name of his finisher is the Time Bomb.
Mhm.
So great, great, great match. And this guy becomes the new IGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And we move on to the first two main events of day one. We have the IWGP Intercontinental Championship match, Tetsuya Naito and Jay White. And Tetsuya Naito, he beat Jay White. Jean Paul, your thoughts on Tetsuya Naito and Switchblade Jay White?
This is really the first match that I've seen of Jay White. So Jay White, I like him. I think he definitely looks better and like everything fits more with the beard. I think he looks better with the beard than he did before. And just when he first was because I think he beat Kenny or something. Kenny dropped the belt to him when
No,
Kenny left.
he beat Tanahashi,
Oh, he
and then
beat
he became
Tanahashi.
he
Yeah,
became the
okay.
world heavyweight champion.
Because when he won, and then I think he didn't hold it for very long. Because then he dropped
No,
it to Okada. So I was like, what is this guy? Just a transitional champion? Do they give him the belt just to be like, hey, thanks for being here, but we really don't care about you, But after seeing this match, Jay White to me is legit, and Naito, like Naito's not bad, but he kind of wrestles almost the same pace as Jericho. And just the one thing, he has a lot of moves, but he just doesn't. It's just slow, and I just don't like that the hitting the finisher over and over. Like that. Like you hit the finisher, and it's like, oh, they kick out, so it's like, oh, I got to hit it again. It's like they don't do anything different. Like in WWE, you do like if let's say your finisher is a suplex, and you hit it. If they kick out, you're not going to hit a suplex again. You're going to go, oh, now I need to try for a superplex. Now you
yes,
need to up the ante. You know,
yes, and
but
that's different, and that's something
yeah,
that we were talking about. And you're right. Like the one thing that we've seen is just a very similar pattern throughout all these matches. Is like they go for the finisher multiple
Hmm.
times, and it kind of like it doesn't become the finisher. Then it just becomes a regular move.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, Tetsuya Naito is the kind of guy that is very paceful. Like the match is really, really paceful. Like he does two or three moves, and it just continues. It just like stops for a little bit, and then another sequence. It's just not the speed doesn't pick up all the way till the end. So that's
Hmm.
why I'm not. I don't think. I think he's a good wrestler, but if you will say skill wise, I wouldn't put it up there.
Oh no, definitely. I like guys more like I'm a way bigger fan of Kota Ibushi, guys like that over
Oh yeah.
Naito. But and even Tanahashi I really like too. In that match, that match with Jericho on day 2, and I've seen Tanahashi wrestle before. I mean, those like he's way more legit, I think too. But Naito, he's one of those guys who he's so established over there. He's one, the crowd loves him, but so I feel like that's kind of why they went with him and why he's so popular. I just feel for us it's a little hard because we're not like as invested. But
We're not as invested, and also I think that like the thing with Naito is like 2 years ago he was in the main event against Okada also, and he was like
mhm,
this close to win it, the
yeah,
World Heavyweight Championship. Then the year before he beat Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship, and they were saying that they were doubt. That's why the
mhm,
announcers were saying a little bit of the storyline about this whole Wrestle Kingdom thing. That like he was actually in on the verge of like not even featuring the event until he won a match, and then he became part of the four last competitors for the double championship thing.
yeah,
So, and you could tell why, like you said, like he's not that type of guy that like you'll be like enticed to watch for his type of wrestling. I
mhm,
mean, like the character, the gimmick is cool, and the Ingobernables and everything. That's something that it was created with Cien Almas, with the Garza's dynasty, and all of them. But as of him, I'm not really invested in Tetsuya Naito either. I told you like yeah he might win it just because like he didn't win 2 years ago, and I guess they
yeah.
rectified that with him. But like you said, the crowd is absolutely over with him. One thing that I want to ask you is like, didn't you see how many people were wearing masks in the audience? I don't know
Yeah.
why is that, and maybe you can fill me in on that.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's Japan is like there's a lot of reasons they do it for like if somebody's sick because they're like really from what I heard they're like health conscious. So like so there's a lot of people in that country. There are a lot of close proximity, so there's a lot of germs. And I guess it's a cultural thing. They'll wear those masks if like they don't want to get sick, or two if they are sick. Like you
Mm,
and I will go out and like when in public when we're sick and we'll just be but
yeah,
them they wear the mask to be like to be a little bit more respectful and like
and
contain all that.
conscientious about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So that's like kind of what that is.
We just want to, we just want to tell that to the family because he's attention to detail. We were just checking those things
At first,
out.
I thought you were gonna say all the people. I'm like, yeah, they were wearing masks because Liger's retiring. They're
Oh
wearing
no,
Liger masks.
oh no, well the
Yeah,
Liger mask, yeah,
yeah.
I was like, the Liger's mask is legit. I was just saying because I kept seeing, like three or four in one row, and
Hmm.
then no, with no mask, and then you'll see like three or four with a mask. So I'm like, they're either really germophobics, or at least I shouldn't even call that. I should go to the other. I should flip the side and be like, hey, they're more conscientious about it, and then
Exactly.
they don't want to get anybody else sick. So for the ones that love to go to work sick, stop it.
Hmm.
So the match itself, very very good. Again, Jay White had the help of his manager, Gyro,
Gato.
Gato. There you go,
Yeah.
and he kept giving me the table, a chair. So he kept whacking Naito with the chair and everything. So a lot of again near falls. Naito went for like his finisher, the Destino, which I love. He's a legit
Hmm.
finisher. And then Jay White went for like the what is it, the Switchblade or
Yeah,
the
or the Sling Blade, I think. Or no,
the
not the, or the no, the Blade Runner.
the Blade Runner. That's what
Yeah.
it is. It's his finisher, which is for us we call it Sister Abigail. So for the ones that like we know that's his finisher. Legit match, and in the end, Naito pull up the upset for me because I thought that Jay White was gonna win,
Yeah.
and Naito becomes the IC champion. Like I said, it was cool to see, and then he advances to the final for the day after. And then we get to see the main event that Jean Paul was really upset because the guy that he wanted to win ended
Yep.
up not even making that is Kota Ibushi challenging Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Tell us a little bit of this match, Jean Paul.
You know, like you said, going into it, I was thinking when Wrestle Kingdom and all that, I'm thinking, oh, this is Ibushi's time. Day 2 is going to be him and Okada, and he's going to win. And then I saw it was like, no, him and Okada's day 1, and I'm like, well, it's done. Ibushi's not going to win.
Is
It was
what?
he's
Done.
done,
Done.
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 It was a hell of a match. Like I said, Ibushi's so talented, and Okada, I shit on his finishing move, but there's a reason why he's the champion and why he's the longest champion, like all his title reigns combined more than anyone else over there. And it's because he's so legit. All his moves he hits, like the finisher, it's just the weak, it's the clothesline, whatever. But all his other moves, when he hits them, they look beautiful. The drop kick itself, is a thing of beauty, and just everything else that he does. He's the kind of guy who, like if he wants it to be a near fall, he's one of those who will kick out at 2.9. Like he will make
like
it.
Kurt Angle. You remember Kurt Angle?
Yeah.
He will be like
Yep.
when the ref is about to like hit the thing,
Yep.
he will see.
Yeah, and that's what I like. And this whole match, it was just there was so much emotion and the storytelling, and as hot as the crowd is for guys like Naito and Tanahashi and all that, I feel like they are so behind Kota Ibushi, and that's one of the thing. They were so hot behind him, and then just to see him fall short here, but they love Okada just as much, and it was one of those things where a lot of these matches, some of them I felt were like, especially this one, was a little predictable. Because you're not going to have Okada lose here and then not be on day 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. You know what I mean? So it was like going into it, that kind of took a little bit out of it for me, but it was still a fantastic match.
If you ask me, like you said, I would have flipped the size on that, and this would have been to me Okada against Naito and Jay White against Kota Ibushi, and then day 2 it would have been Ibushi against Okada.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better. It wouldn't be because the match itself for me, this was the main event out of the both days. This was the best match. Like you said, they hit each other with everything. One thing that you cannot take up from these guys is the intensity. They hit each other like stiff, good move, but the execution, like you said, the drop kick is beautiful from Okada. If he will do the clothesline from hell rather than the Rainmaker, I will be so much, at ease with, with his moveset. Because I don't even like the Tombstone, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
When I think about the Tombstone, I think of the Undertaker.
Well, when he does it, I think of like Just Incredible in like ECW and Jerry. Well, Jerry Lynn's, I think he like locked the arms. It was a little different, but Just Incredible would do that spinning Tombstone, and that's kind of like what Okada does. He grabs you and then he spins like a little bit when he lands. So it reminds me like a Just Incredible, and to me, it's like. It all makes sense. Like, obviously, the Tombstone drops you on your head. The Rainmaker is like a clothesline to the head. So it all sets up and makes sense. But it's just like one of those things where, like you said, that's the one thing that sucks about wrestling. We say, oh, super kick. Everybody does super kick. Everybody does Canadian Destroyer. Everybody does this, does that. When we see Tombstone, we think of Undertaker. So we're not like, we're like, oh, that's kind of bullshit. That's not a legit finisher for you because you're not the Undertaker.
Yeah,
but, there's only so many moves people can do. Like it's hard to invent a new move. But I like the clothesline, or not the clothesline, the Tombstone for like a setup. But like you said, do some kind of like a Stan Hansen or like a JBL type clothesline.
Exactly.
And
that's more devastating.
The only thing I just don't like is like he'll hit the Rainmaker, still be holding on to the arm, pull you up, and hit it again. And then it's done. So it's like your finisher's so weak you had to hit it twice.
Or even in this case, it was more like 4 times or something like that.
Yeah.
So like the repetition is what like I don't like either. Yes.
Yeah, so that's like the one thing. And again, that could just be the different styles of wrestling. We're so used to how WWE and, AEW and maybe it's just like American style wrestling because like WCW and all them, it's all kind of booked the same. How like everything, like if you hit your finisher, unless this is like a crazy extreme match, which again, this is Wrestle Kingdom, so that's something we need to consider as well. But like you don't usually kick out of finishers more than once.
Yes, but so I agree with you. I don't think that to me again, you're defeating the whole purpose of the name of the the move. It's called the finisher because it finishes people. And if it's not finishing people, then it shouldn't be your finisher. I
was just gonna say, like, look at Kenny Omega. We always say like AEW is protecting his one-winged angel like nobody's business. When he hits that, it's done.
Yeah, nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel.
You're done. Like, imagine Yeah, imagine if he had to hit the one-winged angel on like Sammy Guevara 3 times to pin him.
Yeah,
You
the
know what I
movie's
mean? It
gonna
would be like,
become,
what?
yeah, it becomes meaningless. For
Yeah.
example, and you remember this. Let's go to like a few years ago when Kenny Omega and Okada had the tie, because the first match, the trilogy goes like the first match Okada won, the second
Hmm.
one it was a draw, and in the second one, what was the story from that match? Is like Kenny Omega could not hit the one wing angel.
Yeah.
The whole story, he was trying to set it up. He'll have it up. Like, oh my God, he's about to hit it. And then some magically Okada will just, slide
Mm.
off. And then he couldn't hit the move. So when he hit the move, what happened? He won the match and he
Yep.
became the champion. So like we think alike. So that's why like I feel that like in Japan maybe the style is like, yeah, you gotta do your move 10,000 times. And if you maybe when you go play 2K20 in Japan, you have like multiple finishers and you can
Yeah.
do that. But like here, like we are used to like more like the finisher should be is finishes people.
Hmm.
But just going through some spots in the match, or Ibushi, he did his sit up power bomb that it was legit in a spot that like Okada actually was diving and then he caught him
Oh yeah.
into the power bomb, so that was really legit. But then again another sequence of rainmakers, and like you said, he kept holding into the wrist and then lift him up again, turn him, and then boom once again. Like he did that two more times, and then he won, and he
Hmm.
retains. After that, Tetsuya Naito comes out, and they both stare at each other, lay the titles on the mat, and then they look, and then Naito does his like woo, like his thing, and Okada's like yeah, tomorrow. He's like
Hmm.
save it for tomorrow, dude, save it for tomorrow. Like let me go to my hotel. I want to get some rest, and I'll beat you tomorrow.
Hmm.
So let's go. Well, overall, you will say what grade would you give this? The whole entire day one.
For day one out of 10, I mean, I'd give it no less than like an 8. I mean, like I said, that main event was so legit. I didn't like the winner, but again, that's just me who I like. I know for story purposes and everything else, they got to do what they got to do. The Intercontinental Championship match was also a pretty legit match. Naito, like we said, a little slow, this and that, but his finisher is legit, even though he hits it 1,000 times. Just that was a good match. The junior heavyweight match was really legit. All the championship matches were good. And of course, I love seeing all the old legends. Sasuke, Tiger Mask, of course, Liger, Tatsumi Fujinami. All those guys. So
Oh,
I mean,
it was good.
it was a legit first day for
I
sure.
will give it. I will give it an A too. I will give it an
Hmm.
A because I didn't think it was bad. I didn't. Oh my God, they put an upset. It was crappy. I didn't get that
Hmm.
feel. I was like, okay, day two should be legit. So moving to J2, we have Hiromu Takahashi, new junior heavyweight champion with Ryu Lee, and he defeated once again Yushin Thunder Liger and Naoki Sano in a really nice match. This one went a little longer, and then Liger had a little more participation in it
Yeah,
and
and
fanatic more.
I do like on commentary. It was just like every like when Liger, like anytime he was victim to a pinfall attempt and he would kick out, the commentary was like, oh thank God. They're like because they just don't want to see him
They don't want
get
it to be
pinned
done.
because when he's done, it's done.
It's done, and
And
that's
it
what I
was like,
mean.
that's how I felt too. I'm watching it, and it's like, oh, just please win, just please win. But Liger, that's the one thing I'll say about him. Such a professional, such a pro. He knows how to do it, right? Like, somebody like the Undertaker, where it's like in the old school mentality, where it's like if it's your last match and you're done, you got to go out on your back.
You
You
gotta
like,
put people over.
yeah, your last match, you should be looking up and seeing the lights on the ceiling. You shouldn't be getting your hand raised. And it's a Liger. He did the job, but I mean, it was a great match. Like you said, a little bit more offense by him. And it was, this is what I liked. Obviously, that day one was let's get all the legends, let's get all his friends, his rivals, his closest comrades, in the squared circle, get them all in there. Yeah, it was like a good, especially if you're really, really into Japanese wrestling. I'm sure that was a great thing to see. But the second match was a little bit more of what I liked because we could see more offense from Liger, and you could see him more in the match. A traditional tag team match is a lot easier to follow than an 8-man tag.
Oh yeah, it was good, and like you said, like him, I did enjoy that from commentary because it was like, oh no, can you please? And I was actually, can you let the guy win? I was
Yeah,
just
I mean
like,
that's what I wanted too. But like I said, like you just know it's like no, he's not going to do that. But
the
it's like
the
that would have
one
been awesome
fact
to
the
see him
one
win.
fact that you told me, like I think is that it's really, and I will say it, is that it's really bullshit that he never won the heavyweight championship. He
Yeah.
was never champion. I'm like, this guy that like pretty much put Japanese wrestler on the map, made it even more popular because character, being
Hmm.
able to, wrestle in so many companies, promotions. Like he didn't even get a chance to do that. It always leaves a bad taste in my mouth seeing guys like Liger, like Piper, like Jake the Snake that were so popular, so over,
Yeah.
and never will hold a meaningful, championship. But
Yeah.
moving on, Jean Paul. Thank you, Liger, if you're there. Thank you for all the memories. We love you. See, and I will give you like, that's right. So, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Roppongi 3K defeated Taiji Ishimori and El Fantasmo, being painful to win the titles. So we have new Junior Tag Team Championship in the division. Match was really good, to the point, and Roppongi 3K, they were so over. So that's why I think it's the right decision to give them the championships. And we always Wrestle Kingdom, this like WrestleMania, it should be like a reset. And hey,
Mm.
boom, we are done with these storylines. Let's move on with new. Wipe it clean and let's get me something new. Give me
Yeah.
something new rivals, new stories. Let's bring showcase different people. So
Yeah,
we
I
have
agree.
something that you are really you like this a lot, and I know why because Taka Michinoku, one of our guys, light heavyweight champion in WWE, and he's the manager of Zack Sabre Jr. and he defended his British heavyweight championship against Sanada in a submission via submission to retain the title.
Yeah, and this was a good match. It was a lot of, really just technical, the change of pace, the submissions, the wear downs. It was, and all these guys, are not all these two guys, they knew each other real well in this match. And it was, Sonata, he just like, he wanted to beat Zack Sabre Jr. and it was, he wanted to beat him in his style because they're both real technical. And Sabre Jr. was the clear cut heel. Anytime Sonata got a little bit of offense in, or he couldn't, put him away, whether Sonata would break out of a hold, Sabre Jr. would like throw a fit, like a temper tantrum, like how he saw Jericho on,
Yeah,
Dynamite and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So it was really setting up where it's like, oh, this guy's spoiled. He's just like a crybaby heel, and it's like I wanted to see him win, but I wanted to see him lose. But it's the British Heavyweight Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. is British. Like what are you gonna do? Like are you gonna give it to this guy? Like they really like Zack Sabre Jr. He's one of those guys who I don't like him as much as Will Ospreay, but he's right up there. People talk about like how great he is and all this other stuff. So you're not going to take the belt off him, even though, like you said, doing new things and this and that. But to me, this doesn't seem like a blow off to this feud. This feud seems like it's still going because it was such an evenly matched, contest. Like it was a ton of roll up attempts. A guy would have a submission and then they quick reversed it. Like they, it's one of those things how we say about like Ray Phoenix and all those guys. This match was like water. It just had such a nice flow and everything was just like it was super legit. But in the end, Zack Sabre Jr. wins, and that was another one too. I would have liked to see a title change, but kind of going into it, you didn't really think that it was going to take place.
Well, what Zack Saber Jr. reminds me of is like the newest, I would say a current Dean Malenko. The
Mm-hmm.
dude loves submission wrestling. He knows every single hole in the book. He just knows how to put you like whatever he is in the ring, in whatever position he's in. He goes back and he turns and he put into a submission hole. So the
Mm-hmm.
guy is like really good, and by his size, because I'm not gonna say the guy's huge, but the guy's ripped, but he's skinny. You've seen that. He's really skinny, but
Mm-hmm.
he's very powerful.
Yeah,
So
and that's the thing. Like you said, he's skinny, so he can really twist his body and get in a lot of those weird submissions. His arms and his legs are extremely long, so he's like the
yes,
perfect for like stretching people out. And like you said, so his style definitely fits his physique, and like everything is just he's just such a great competitor.
oh yeah, and yeah, like I said, just for me, for you, the WWE days, the attitude era to see Taka Michinoku is legit. For the ones that
Mhm.
don't know, the Michinoku driver comes from Taka, so that's why they call it the Michinoku driver. So we go again to another match that like, we were looking forward to see: Joh Moxley defending the United States Championship against Juice Robinson, and Joh Moxley gets the win. Something that you and I weren't thinking that actually he was going to drop the title to Robinson, noting the fact that like he's only a part-timer in
Yeah,
New Japan.
yeah, that's definitely what I thought. And this match, I will say, I think was better than the Lance Archer match.
Yeah,
Or yeah, from the
yeah,
previous day. But
by far.
this to me, like, and also Juice Robinson. Remember how I was saying, people are saying how like Moxley's being booked like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, of course.
If that's the case, then Juice Robinson, man, he was like the Kurt Angle.
Yeah,
Because this match,
yeah.
I thought Juice was gonna win. Like, and not, I mean, I thought before that, but even while watching it, I'm like, oh shit. Like he hit the right hand of God, left hand of God. I forget what his finisher's called. I know he went for that twice. He might actually hit it one time.
It will. If you ask me, like, is the Unprettier is what
Yeah,
Christian used
yeah,
to do?
that's
I
what he
don't
does.
know
It's
why
like
they call it,
yeah,
in New Japan, but
yeah,
it's the
that's
kill
yeah. He
switch
like
or the
locks the
Unprettier,
arms and then yeah,
and then
yeah,
you turn it, and then you
yep.
drop, and then you let go. That's called the Unprettier or the kill switch. But yeah, like again, like you said, the one thing, like they're saying that they portray Moxley like Lesnar, but yeah, like he got a lot of offense. Juice was about to win.
Yeah, and it was it was great and that's the one thing where I do like it for Moxley, but maybe that's because I think his finisher is a little more legit. Like at the end of this, where he hits, the paradigm shift, the Death Rider, whatever, he hits it, and then he picks him up, and then he does like the avalanche or like the jump version or whatever you want to call it, where he
Hmm.
like kind of lifts you up a little bit and then falls down into the DDT. So I like that because it was like, but at least he didn't hit it like 3, 4 times, like before the match, earlier. He hits it, still has you in the hold, hits it again, and it's done. Like that, I'm fine with. I don't like it where it's like, oh, I hit it 5 minutes into the match and you kick out. It's like, yeah, no shit.
It's
Like,
because
yeah, why wouldn't you do it at the end of the match when it's done? Why would you do it early on and make your finisher look weak?
it's like it's like a sequence when he does it because he goes for the quick dirty deeds or the paradigm shift. He goes right away, boom, and then because you're like groggy from the move, he
Mm-hmm.
lifts you up again, and then he does the avalanche, like the one that he has more air to it. Like he
Yeah.
lifts them up, he gets more distance to it, and then he drops you. So it is more believable that he goes with that whole sequence. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I appreciate the fact that like you said, Moxley gets the win, but also like I don't like when they use the terminology. Oh yeah, he's like Brock Lesnar because like you said, Brock Lesnar is a guy that like you don't get any offense on Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
While Moxley is
Yeah.
he's a normal dude. Is okay, yeah, he might be in good shape and everything, but like you can get the guy like
But
a few punches, holds, and
yeah.
all of that.
And that's, I mean, I didn't really care for that comparison when I heard it, but the one thing I do like is like Moxley, he made Juice look good. Even though Juice lost, he still looks good. And I feel, just who attacked Moxley after the match? What was his name?
It was I think it's Sasaki. Sasaki is the last name. Sasaki.
Mm-hmm.
He calls himself the best wrestler in the world. So he comes out and he says, but I guess Moxley threw a challenge to everybody. Like he said, who's gonna be next?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna go after this? And then this guy came, did his finisher, and Moxley was laid down on the floor on the
Yeah,
mat.
were they were ringing the bell like the little like the cowbell that it sounds like their bullshit bell like gong,
I
gong,
said
gong,
to you,
gong,
look,
gong.
it sounds
Yeah,
bullshit because it's like tuk, 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 tuk. And I'm like, can you afford like a nice bell, so it
yeah.
sounds legit?
So he comes out and they were ringing this bell, but they kept ringing it to like kind of like call for order, get people out there to break this up. I thought this was going to be a legit match.
Oh yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, oh
but
my god! And I thought, I'm like, oh my god, Moxley's gonna drop it right here. He'll be
yeah,
the shortest reigning champion ever.
yeah, it would have been, and then they did mention that because they were
Yeah,
saying like if he would have lost to Juice, he would have become the quickest United States champion of all time. But I
yeah,
think they're gonna set up for Dominion because I think or the G1 Climax because I think that's where their pay-per-views are called. So the next one probably is Dominion in another city in Japan, but probably they're gonna like set up for that. So moving along, we got the never opening weight championship. Is Hiroki Goto. He defeated Kenta Hideo Itami to win the title. So that was a really good match and also an upset, I will say, because I was thinking that Kenta, up to that point, he was actually having like a really bad Wrestle Kingdom.
yeah. And that's what I'm. Yeah. So like you said, Kenta, they lost, and then like in the tag team match, the Bullet Club lost, or the Go to Sleep Club, whatever, and then they lose here, or Kenta loses here, and it's like, oh shit, like what was. because the whole commentary, like this is the match they were really selling it on, how like he went to America and he became humbled. He wasn't the number one guy, when he wrestled in Noah, which was a promotion in Japan, he was one of the number one guys there. That's where he made his name. And then all this, New Japan and all this other stuff. And then he goes to America and it's like, he doesn't do really anything. He gets hurt. We went through everything before. But
Everywhere
then,
he goes, bullshit.
yeah, and then he loses here and it's like, shit. But, I do like the one thing they said, how like Kenta and Goto, like they kind of have similar styles. They kept saying like, oh, Kenta, I guess they were saying like, I don't know if Goto was saying it or who, but like Kenta has a glass jaw, and they're like, he might have a glass jaw, but nothing else on him is like made of glass, when he's like knocking out Goto. So it was like really hard hitting and a really legit match. But, from what we saw later in the night, I think they took that belt off of Kenta because they had, bigger and better plans for him.
Yep.
And that's the one thing about New Japan where like, we see this stuff. Like all their booking decisions, I feel like they make sense storyline wise. They're not just going to give somebody a belt and not have a plan for the guy who loses the belt.
Yeah.
Like when Kofi lost to Lesnar, what was the plan with Kofi? They still don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't know, New Day, I guess we'll give them the belts, the tag team belts, whatever, we don't know. They have no plan.
Because like you said, I think New Japan, they book long-term in every single situation. Probably the only time that like they tried to experiment was when Jay White became the heavyweight champion, and they noticed that they were not getting any kind of
with that
popularity. But
with that, I will agree because I feel they were like, oh, Kenny was so hot, so popular. He left. They're like, let's give it to another gaijin, another like non-Japanese wrestler. They gave it to Jay White, and it was like,
yeah,
it's not really working. They're not latching on to Jay White as much as Kenny. Because Kenny, he was a heel. I think he was a heel at some point over there, but he was such a face. He was so over. Jay White's clearly a heel. You're not going to get, because Japan, they really love their baby faces. So you're not going to get as much of a reaction and response with a heel Jay White. So that's why I agree with you on that. I think that was a little bit of an experiment, but everything else, I feel they do long-term booking. Or, unfortunately, they just they just stick the belt on Okada. But, you're going
to go with the guy that you know. You're going to go to your go-to guy that happens to be Okada. But, yeah, moving, the match was really good. And, again, Hiroki Goto, he gets a new chance with this championship. The never open weight championship. So it's really nice to see that. Now we go to the match of the honor. Because it's the two people that lost the day before. And this guy we're just talking about right now. Jay White against Kota Ibushi.
Mm-hmm.
Really good match, but in the end, Kota Ibushi loses again, and Jay White at least can go home saying that he won on day 2.
Yeah, and the one thing like this match, I really enjoyed this match again. Still new to seeing Jay White. I've seen Kota Ibushi wrestle a few times, like in the Cruiserweight Classic tournament. I know he wrestled in that they had. That was he was so legit. I thought he was going to win it, but. And then seeing him yesterday and a few other matches, seeing him here, I really thought he was going to win this. Like I said, I originally wanted him to just win the whole thing. He doesn't. I never liked the story. Jay White, he was saying, these people don't care about you. Your fans don't care about you. They only liked you when you had the briefcase from the G1. You don't have that no more. You're a loser. And he was just really beating him down, dominant early on. And then you think, oh, Ibushi's done. And the crowd was really getting behind it. And he had a moment where he kind of just almost whited out or he just lost what he was doing. And he just starts no-selling Jay White's moves. And the commentary's like, oh, he says when he gets in this trance, he doesn't know what he's doing. And he'll come to later on and he'll be like, I don't even remember doing this. So he kind of has I don't even know. He snaps. And he just, then it's then we get the offense and the comeback from Ibushi, and at this point I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be it. This is the redemption, because like they said, all 4 of these guys were talking about when I win twice, when I win on day 1 and day 2. They said no, none of these 4 guys mentioned the thought of losing twice. And Ibushi, like I said, he just fought back. Jay White, he sends Ibushi into the ref, and the ref, like a freaking pinball, goes flying out of the rope.
Yeah.
He's done. So then it's oh shit. Then that's when Gato comes in with the chair. he whacks Ibushi, and Ibushi's still in the Hulk, the Hulkamania mode. So he no sells his chair. He lays out Goto or Gato, whatever his name is, and then Jay White. A little bit more back and forth. I think he actually kicked out of the
He
Blade
did
Runner.
the power bomb. He did the power bomb,
Yeah,
but like there was no ref because you remember
yeah,
he was out. So he's
yeah,
calling the ref. He was like, come on, ref, ref. And of course, kind of WWE style, he comes back and then 1, 2, and then he kicks out. So they
yeah.
did do that, yes.
And then
And then is when I think Jay White did his moves and then his finisher, and that's how he won.
yeah, at the end of it, we're like right before the ref and all that came back in. Gato, he had like the brass knuckles then.
Yeah.
So then I think Jay White hit him with a chair, and then he like spun around, and then that's when Gato clocked him with the knuckles, and then he picked him up, and then he hit the sling blade or the switchblade, and then it was done. So it was one of those where, like they said, there's a huge asterisk on this win for Jay White. So they're probably going to see that feud. These guys are going to fight again. They're going to do something. Maybe, if one of them fights, they have a feud, then the winner of that could challenge for a belt, whether it's the Intercontinental. I don't think they're really getting in the I feel like that U.S. picture is pretty set. You have 4 guys in there, Juice, Moxley, Suzuki, do you say his name is?
Sasaki, yeah. Sasaki.
Yeah, Sasaki, and
And
Robinson,
Archer.
and
And
Archer.
Archer.
So I feel like they would be like the Intercontinental Championship, or what we saw, maybe not the heavyweight championship. Someone else might be challenging for that after what we saw from the main event. But it was a great match. And Ibushi, I've seen online already, like, even though it's only been a couple hours, people are already saying like, oh, Ibushi's going to turn heel. Like, this is the right time. So I'm excited. Like, I'm actually going to follow to see what he does. Because going into Wrestle Kingdom, I thought, well, he's going to win. He's going to come out with some belt. And he came out with nothing. So I'm really looking forward to see what they do with his character, because he's one of the guys
in Japan
perfect
time
I really love.
to turn this guy heel.
Oh,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
agree,
And I feel bad because he was the one. He's the kind of guy that like could have won the whole thing. It would have been a legit story because the guy is young, and it could have been like a really good time to promote this guy. But unfortunately, it's not his time yet in the eyes of the New Japan Pro Wrestling officials. Now we have Le Champion. The Painmaker.
The match that, let's just say the match we were probably looking forward to see the most.
Yeah,
at least for me, one of them.
Oh yeah, like for me, of course, like see Le Champion Chris Jericho, Painmaker against Hiroshi Tanahashi. The huge thing was like if Tanahashi wins, then he will open up the door for he could challenge for the AEW Championship. So there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of talk. It's like maybe they're in the works of working a deal. Maybe they're actually trying to work their differences out. Maybe they actually know and understand that like the collaboration between the two of them can easily, and I will tell you that, and I'm shooting right now, and I'm being very blunt. This could easily, take away NXT. If those two promotions decide to collaborate, see, I'm opening the can of worms right here. Because it's like, for me, if New Japan and AEW start collaborating, easily, boom, NXT, done.
And that's the one thing. I don't want to see NXT be done because I love NXT. But obviously NXT, for so many years, WWE has been self-sufficient. They shut themselves off from every other promotion, and they screwed themselves. Because now, imagine if you would see NXT versus New Japan. Yeah. Adam Cole going against Okada. You could see like somebody like Matt Riddle going against Naito. There's so many. You could Gargano against Ibushi. So many freaking matches that it's like, take my money. I would pay $1,000 to sit there and watch these guys wrestle.
That's what I mean.
But instead, it's AEW. So now, it's like WWE screwed themselves. And if this deal happens, imagine if Naito or Tanahashi, imagine if Tanahashi would have won here. Yeah. And it would have been like, Wednesday, Tanahashi will be live on Dynamite. That would be over $1 million. Over $1 million. Easy.
What are you going to be watching? What are you going to be tuning in?
Exactly.
AEW. You're going to be tuning in that. Imagine this. Will Ospreay against Pentagon, against Rey Fenix.
Yeah.
Or who the most, technically, let's say, skillful wrestler in the world is. Mm-hmm. Zack Sabre Jr. going against, again, the Lucha Bros. Or going against
against Kenny.
Against Kenny. going against Darby Allin. Let's promote new guys also. Let's put it in the mix. Let's
Mhm.
get Luchasaurus against Okada.
Yeah, or you could even, or yeah, or I mean, I would do something maybe like the Gorillas of Destiny versus, like the anybody like the young,
SEU.
yeah,
SEU.
SCU, or like the Jurassic Express, or like Roppongi 3K, Juice Robinson and Finley's kid, like
Yeah.
yeah, that could be bring. There's so many things that you could do that it's like NXT would be done,
And for
but
example, like, see, let's say if they wouldn't even announce it, but you just see these people showing up. That
Mhm.
will be so cool. That will be like the
Imagine, yeah,
WCW
like,
days.
see, that's what you shouldn't have did the Dark Order beat down. How cool would it have been if it's like, Moxley is like, he's standing there. He's like, yeah, I'm the IWGP United States champion, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even work there, but I went in there and I beat their guy. I took the belt. Jericho's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, I went over there. I beat their ace, their best guy. He could just say, and, Tanahashi. And then that's when you said you have like maybe 10 guys come out wearing hoodies and they jump these dudes and they beat them down. They throw the hoods back and it's the main guys from New Japan.
It will be, it
And
will
they're like,
be.
and you wanted to come here to Wrestle Kingdom and embarrass us. Now we're coming here to embarrass you.
That's what I mean. So I would just use wishful thinking. So that kind of like led up to that speculation. In the end, Le Champion pulls up the win. The match itself, like you said, it was really, really good. Peaceful, like we know how it is, because we know with Jericho, he's not the same Jericho that like 25 years ago, and it's understandable to think that way.
Mhm.
But there was a lot of things he tried for a Frog Splash. He even put it on Twitter. He put it on Instagram. He's like, "Thank you, Eduardo," which is Eddie. Thank you for he tried something different. So it's legit to see how he still evolves at his age. And we've been saying this, in our AEW Dynamite reviews with Jean Paul, or sometimes I make a special appearance. But I think it was really good to see. You enjoyed the match also. I know that like you are a big fan of Tanahashi. So tell us
Yeah.
like the spots that you like.
I like a lot of, there was a lot of mocking. Like I like when Tanahashi, he would like mock Jericho. Jericho's mocking him. There was definitely a lot of like hatred between these two guys. That spot where Jericho went for the code breaker and he caught him, and then
Yeah,
he,
from the
he
top
hit
rope.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, he hit him with the dragon screw leg whip. The whole
yeah.
thing, he was just working over the knees of Jericho because, like, obviously, he's an older guy. He's a little bit bigger, so it's like, what's the first thing that gets weak on you? Your knees. So he was going for the knees. I like the spot, and like Jericho, a lot of his matches, they said he's not the technical wizard he was before. He's more built like a brawler. So where did he? They took this match to the outside. He was brawling. The one thing I said to you for day one, and I noticed it in day two, I don't like New Japan's skinny tables. I thought
Oh
they
yeah.
had like legit full size tables because they did that spot where he threw him over and they were on the English announce table, and they were clearing it off, and Jericho, he hit the DDT on Tanahashi on the table, and like Jericho, and this isn't me trying to say like, oh, he's bigger or anything. Jericho was wider than the table. And it's like he's wider than this table. How's he supposed to drop Tanahashi on it? I don't even think Tanahashi, maybe half of his head hit the table. The other half was just hit nothing, and then he kind of just flopped off the table. But I mean, that was a really cool spot regardless. I do like when he was clearing off the table. I don't know who was on the announce team besides Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
It was some like really big, like 300-pound, like looking guy. But yeah, Jericho, he was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Blah blah blah. And then Jericho's like, "Shut up, fat ass." Like
Like
that, it was just like it's so funny, like to hear, like,
it's,
because
it's like
yeah,
Jericho is like the inner person of all of us that we will
uh-huh,
probably would like to say those things, but
yeah.
we gotta keep it face,
And then
because
they,
that's what we do.
and then then obviously that DDT, destroyed the announce table, everything. Back in the ring, there's a little bit more back and forth, and then Kelly's like, "Oh, we finally got the announce table back up, and
Yeah.
we're working again." And that guy just goes, "What did he mean by fat ass?" And it's like, "What do you
That
mean? Like you're 400 pounds? That's what you mean?"
Well, that's
Like,
legit.
yeah, it was
They
funny though.
guys
Like
at
that's what
least
I, yeah.
example to me, and see this is something that we could go along and just. But we're not going to elaborate. But see, Jim Ross used to be part of the New Japan announcing team,
Uh
but
huh.
like I don't think they miss him at all because see, Kevin Kelly's doing a great job, and see, make it like like kind of funny at times, serious throughout, very informative. They were like kept giving his information and everything, so it was great. It was
And the
great.
one thing I don't think did he hit the Judas effect?
No, he did not do
I
the
was
good.
gonna say, I know they
He
were just
went for
selling
it,
it.
but he missed.
Yeah,
He
they were
missed.
just telling how devastating it was and everything like that. And I do like how they mentioned the undisputed when he was coming down, how he beat Stone Cold and Triple H in one night.
The Triple A, The Rock,
Oh, The
and
Rock. Oh,
Stone
yeah,
Cold.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. My
yep.
bad.
Yeah, but
But
he became the undisputed champion. It's
mm,
kind of like the same thing that Naito is kind of doing, and it was legit. And then, of course, and another cool thing, Jean Paul, when he put him into the walls of Jericho, they did not name it that. They went for the Lion Tamer. They
yeah,
said the Lion Tamer, and he went with a lot of power the first time. There was a counter. Tanahashi went for like the splash, kind of missed it, and then Jericho caught him again, and then the Lion Tamer, and then he actually went for the knee, and that's when Tanahashi tapped.
yeah, yeah. He like he was like stomping his hand, like he
He
stepped
put more weight.
backwards and was
Yeah.
really, yeah, really like leaning it in there. And like you said, and when he hit the lion salt, I like when Jericho is able to hit, and he did that springboard drop kick early on in the match where he
Yeah,
runs to the
yeah,
corner and
yeah.
like springboards and turns around and drop kicks you off the apron. Like I love when he does all those moves because with his bigger size and physique, when he hits the lion salt, it's way more impactful than when he was, 30, 40 pounds lighter.
Yes,
Because now
yes,
you're
and
getting this heavier guy doing a freaking lion salt, landing on you knees first to the stomach. It seems a lot more legit.
it
So
seems more devastating. And yeah, like you
yeah,
said, I do like the spring for dropkick because like Michael Cole would say, oh, it's vintage Jericho. I will say that. Like it reminds me of the old Jericho that I fell in love with. The Lion Soul, the all the Walls of Jericho. Like here, like all
and
the old school Jericho for me. That
yeah,
was legit.
and tell me if you were booking it, and then we can move on to the main event. If you were booking this, who would have won? And then I'll tell you who I would have picked. Would you have went
I
with
would like
Jericho
if I'm
winning and
booking
then no
this.
title match, or would you have had Tanahashi win?
If I'm booking this, and let's say that there's a deal, there is actually the openness to talk about, being able to fly Tanahashi to AEW,
Mm,
Tanahashi, no brainer. It's like this, boom. You want to
yep.
win, you want to beat NXT, right? This is the formula, boom. We
Mm.
have Tanahashi in the ring opening up Dynamite, and he's like, okay, I beat you. Where's my championship match? You
You know
know,
what? I would have. I mean, I agree with you 110%. I like Tanahashi. I think should have won. It should have been. It could have been something. I don't like roll ups, but that would at least Jericho would have looked strong. It could have been a roll up or something, and then it's like Jericho looks. He still looks legit, but he lost. And I would have loved it to see where maybe Dynamite. It doesn't even have to open, but see, that's the one thing. This week is Dynamite. The whole main focus is Moxley talking to Jericho about, is he going to join the inner circle or not? But I would have loved to see like doon 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 doon, doon, like Judas hits, and then he comes out, and you think it's going to be Jericho, and it's Tanahashi. How he had the hat on before, he was dressed up
yeah,
as
like how he mocked.
Taker.
That's something that we didn't mention. That there was that, like he was impersonating Jericho. So that was
Yeah.
absolutely
So
cool.
that's what I would love to see on Dynamite, where like you could have Tony Schiavone, Jr. Excalibur. They're all like, "Oh, here comes Le Champion," and it's freaking Tanahashi
And then like,
dressed up
oh
as a
my God, it's
yeah,
Tanahashi.
yeah.
This
That would
is
be that
Hiroshi
would be so
Tanahashi.
legit.
Yeah,
But
you could do that. Or for example, Jean Paul, how you feel about this, right? He goes and like Tanahashi's like, I won my championship match. And then all of a sudden, Moxley, he's like, what do you mean championship match? I'm the number one contender. And then, you get Jericho to come out. He's like, guys, and then you set up something different. There's so many avenues that they
oh,
could have
and
done.
speaking of that, what do you think about John Moxley? If I don't know, they probably will only do this if there's a deal worked out. But I would love to see him defend the IWGP United States Championship against guys like you said, like a Luchasaurus or like a Darby Allin. Defend that belt in AEW against
Yeah.
AEW guys. Obviously, you
Well,
don't
like,
have him. Obviously, you don't have him drop it, but at least have because Jericho wore the belt, AEW's belt, on the Wrestle Kingdom.
and
So
they did a big zoom in.
yeah,
They
so
did a
I
big.
want yeah, so I want to see if the New Japan belt will make an appearance on AEW or not.
Well, I have a little bit of news on that, Jean Paul. During the press conference after the event, Jericho said, it's time for you guys, quote, to work out, to stop being a crybabies and work a deal. Like ASAP, because this is what we need to go
Mhm.
to the next level. So that's
Oh,
what
he's right.
Jericho
He's
flat out said.
100% right.
Work a deal. And I'm saying you, if you want to beat NXT, if that's your mission, or at least, you want to be better, that right there is your formula. There's no other way. I'm telling you, because if you keep doing what you're doing, yes, some weeks you will be over, some other weeks you won't. But if you definitely want to be the main brand on Wednesday, is bringing these guys.
I agree.
especially Jean Paul in moving. Here's the last element, and then we will move to main event. But it's 2 days. We have time here. It's our
Yeah,
show. We decide when to close the show.
exactly.
We're not no WWE Network or anything of that. Anyway, it's like New Japan. They don't have a deal in the United States now.
No,
So how can you feature these guys?
that's what I'm. This is the only way.
So that's what I mean. So if they're smart about this, they should be working right now. And I'm actually going to give Cody Rhodes a phone call. I'm going to be, what the hell?
Yeah, I'd be like, dude,
What's going on?
listen to rope break for once and do
Listen
this,
to
and
Robert
then
once,
that.
and exactly, just give us that. So anyway, Jean Paul, main event time. Intercontinental Champion Tetsuya Naito going against heavyweight champion Kazuchika Okada to put both titles on the line and to crown the first double New Japan World Champion. What do you feel about this match?
Uh,
Really go.
Yeah, I mean it was a great match. You know, the story was there. I love the double championship thing. Like I love, Daniel Bryan, not so much like the Warrior, all that, but like it's, there's all this different, where it's like champion versus champion and it's like, who's going to win, who's going to be the number one guy clearly in the company because you have two singles belts, you're clearly the number one. So that was the whole story going into it and then just from really seeing a lot of Naito's matches, I do like Okada more as a wrestler, but it was one of those things where like if Okada won, like what would that have done? It's like, okay, we already know Okada's the top star, like we already know that he's the number one guy. Like if he wins, it's like, oh, okay, who cares? But
Yeah.
then if Naito wins, it's like, oh shit, that's something that's a little bit more newsworthy. It's something that like the fans maybe weren't expecting as much. And like you said, the story is there. I appreciate the story. Was it 2 years ago you said he was so
Yes, it's
close?
2 years ago that he
Yeah.
was so close to win the championship. Yep.
So then that's like I love the long term booking. I love all that where it's like, you had me, or like you had me 2 years ago, but I tried, I fought, I clawed, and I made it all the way here again. And now I'm gonna win, and I'm not only gonna win to take your belt, but I'm gonna win to be the first double champion. And like you said, it was such a great match. The only thing I wish was just, it would have been like two Okadas going against each other instead of just like the 6-7 moves that Naito has. But I mean, like just the pace,
The
that he
pace, yeah,
works.
like I
Yeah.
mean, the match itself, it was good. It was long, but okay. Main event needs to be long.
Hmm.
That's old school mentality. That's good wrestling. Is your two top guys going at each other? It has to be long. It doesn't have to be poker of doom of the poker finger of doom. Then
Hmm.
all those crappy things. No, it needs to be long. It needs to be paceful. Take your time. Give me like good sequences where you are enjoying yourself. Like you said, is make the climax going from like like a spiral going back
Hmm.
and forth. The one thing I'm not big on is like Naito keeps spinning on it. Like, like he was like, well, sure. I'm like, are you like, do you have the same cough that I have? Is it
Yeah.
like black? Is it like green stuff? That what you know
Hmm.
what I mean? But the back and forth was very good. But like you said, once again, a lot of rainmakers, a lot of tombstones, and then in the case of Naito, Destino, Destino,
And
Destino.
I just love when he goes for it, and then when Okada would counter, and they'd be like, "Desti, oh, okay."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like Destino, Tombstone, or like Destino. No, he's not Destino. Yeah. So like, see, the commentary did a good job. Why can't this Kevin Kelly needs to go back to the States, come back to AEW, take care of
Not even
maybe.
that. Get some of these guys on freaking WWE. Like, when do you ever hear like that? Like when it's like, "Oh, Destino," or like Rainmaker.
Yeah,
Like you never hear that.
I
Like
think they
really,
get they are
yeah,
contagious from like the Japanese way of
yeah,
pronouncing things. I think that's why, because like Jericho,
yeah.
Ray,
Or, or
Mecca.
like that's how it is, in like Lucha Libre and even the Spanish announcing for WWE. They're way more passionate and like like how you watch a lot of soccer. They're like go for like 30 exactly for
You
like
blow up your lungs doing that.
yeah, for like 30 seconds long. This guy's just stretching out goal and it's like that's like what we like to see. And that's what the commentary just if you have great commentary, you can really sell a match, get it over. It gets you excited for something that if you're watching it with mute, with no volume, you wouldn't really be as into it. And that's
Yeah,
the thing, New Japan, they tell the stories, the great commentary, the action is great in the ring, even though we're nitpicking. Naito a little bit. The action was great in the ring. A long match. Like I said, I appreciate it. It's just the thing where we're not as invested in these guys as much as maybe we should be. But
Yes.
there's just so much wrestling to watch. So it's like,
It- Is
you
is
know,
is
we
is like,
but
guys, we only have, there's only two of us, for the show. We have a also, like, I would like to shout out Nikolai Eck, a great guy as our designer. Everything, I want to be very, I want to show all my thankfulness for him, because like the channel wouldn't look as good as it does if it wasn't for him. But
mhm.
he's backstage also helping us out. But it's only you and me. We're not going to be able to watch every single thing that goes on wrestling unless you
Oh
guys
yeah.
starting to patronizing us. But I'm not going to ask that because we don't do this for money. So you're right. And in the end, the last sequence is another Destino, and Naito is finally able to pin Kazuchika Okada and becomes a double champion, and the first double champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling history. And the good thing is when he was thanking the crowd, he's thanking the Tokyo Dome, he thanks Okada for it, and actually Okada was going to Gorilla again, but like he stopped because he's like, Okada, and he said, I had a really good time. Let's do this one more time. So you can see that at some point they're gonna like retake the feud. They're gonna go
Mhm.
with, and then Jean Paul. What happens after that? Naito celebrates. He's ready, and then what happens?
Well, like we said, it was like, man, Kenta, he's looking the same. He's looking like Hideo Itami. Loss next day, loss.
Done,
Like, dude, you're done. He comes
done.
out, lays out Naito, sits on top of him, I think, and he's holding the belts, and it's like,
Yeah,
this is
GTS.
yeah, this is the thing. It's like we want now this guy. He's coming out here. That's what you do. That's how you get a show off the air, and because now you got people like us who were watching Wrestle, and this happens, I'm sure, every single year with Wrestle Kingdom. You have people who watch it, and you got to do something to hook people. This year they had the AEW superstars come in, and you do a lot of stuff like this cliffhanger going off the air, like, oh, you want to see what happens, you want to see what Naito says to Kenta, you want to find out what happens, and that's what New Japan does, and that's what they do great. They hook you to then, like, they got to get new subscribers, new viewers, and this keeps me interested. Like I said, I want to see where Ibushi does. If does he turn heel? What does he do? Does he try to challenge for a belt? Does he get revenge on Jay White? You have Kenta. What is he going to challenge for both belts? Just the heavyweight championship, and he just lost the open weight championship. So it's like I don't know how New Japan and all that stuff works, but it's like what's he doing to challenge for
What's
and
next?
yeah, what like did he do anything to deserve
What are the
to
steps
challenge
that
for
need to
these
be
belts?
taken for him to become a challenger, or be like WWE and point out to the Wrestle Kingdom
Yeah.
sign?
Yeah,
Like
that's what
this
I mean.
dude.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of intrigue, and I don't know if these guys have past, history with each other. Maybe there's like a feud or something before Kenta left. So it's all definitely really interesting, but I like that because it's like you're doing something with this guy. You didn't just have him, and that's the thing. Like I said, when somebody loses, it seems like they have plans for them. They
Yeah,
don't just have a
absolutely.
guy lose and then you float around and it's like, we'll do something with you in 6 months. Like it's like, no, Kenta, you're like he might even be in charge of the Bullet Club or if they're just the Go to Sleep Club or whatever they're calling themselves. So it's like you're the
The
leader
Robbery
and
Club.
yeah,
The Ro-
exactly.
Yeah, that we have the
So
Robbery Club. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna
so
start making the shirts soon. So get ready to
yeah,
buy
so
those shirts,
yeah,
Tamo.
get the pre-orders ready.
Yeah, get the pre-order ready.
So it's great to see that they have a plan for this guy because this is what he should have had. How many years ago before he left? He should have never left. You know, I mean, who knows? He could have got injured over there, but in Japan, and maybe he would have been the same story. Because I feel like if he wasn't injured, he would have been used over here. Triple H would definitely. You saw how Triple H used Asuka, how he's using how he used Nakamura, how he's using Kushida now, Kairi Sane, Io Shirai. Besides
I think he would have
Kushida,
been. Yeah, he would have been
yeah,
good, but like because he did have a match with Bobby Roode for the NXT Championship. But like
yeah,
you said, like in the continuation of the feud, that's when he got injured again and
mm,
done. And that
yep,
was like I think the Achilles tendon, so he went over like almost a year out. So in a year, like a lot of things happen, and then to get interest on people again, he even was on Monday Night Raw a few times, but then I
hmm
think he got injured again. So all the injuries is what really, really, really hurt him to the
Hmm.
point that like there was no interest in, and that's why they didn't renew the contract, and he wanted to just be better off in Japan. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. We'll see. The cliffhanger that they left us is really, really good because, again, like you said, now I want to watch what's next. Now,
Hmm.
probably you and me are going to go out of our ways to see what's going on and
Yeah,
see
or at
that's when
least,
we
or
will
oh
be
yeah,
good.
or at least follow it a little bit more closely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely raised my intrigue. Same thing when we watched NWA Into the Fire. All these people. Like, wrestling is one of those things. I will be the first to say it. Wrestling isn't as cool as it was in 97, 98. It's not there yet. It's getting there again. It's slowly starting to pick up momentum where I'm starting to see more people in public wearing wrestling t-shirts. You're starting to see more random commercials and more random advertisements and just at the store or wherever. You're starting to see wrestling a little bit more in pop culture. So it's slowly starting to get there and it's because of, and it's not even because of WWE.
It's
It,
because of
it,
road break. That's what it
well,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Because
No,
of road break.
yeah,
It's because
cool.
of road break. It's a
So
road break effect. That's all it
exactly.
is.
And,
That's all
and
it is.
the other contributors besides Rope Break, like NXT is getting popular, even though they're in the WWE window, they're still their own entity, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
AEW is getting popular, and you have, people really like New Japan. So, and even with Kenny and all them leaving, people are still hot behind New Japan. And with all that stuff, it's just slowly getting momentum. So I'm excited just to see where the whole wrestling, world goes in
I'm
2020. Not
excited
just,
for the future, and in
yeah,
the future also is
especially.
you and me, Mr. Jean
Yep, I
Paul.
was just gonna say, and especially the future of rope break
So,
is gonna
guys,
be.
I hope that like closing thoughts on this. I give this night, I will say a 9 because of course
Mhm.
seeing Le Champion win, all of that story was good. The Naito, all of that, I give it. It gave me a little bit more when it comes to me night for night two. For you, what will that be the
Yeah,
grading
I'm for
process?
night two. I would say I'd probably give it like an 8, 8.5. Wasn't as there was a lot more matches on night two. I was more invested in, and it wasn't even though it's like the matches themselves were a little longer. There wasn't as many matches, which I like. I'd rather see a couple. Like I like how NXT does it, where you have 5 matches on a card, and those 5 matches are really long, versus having like 10 matches on a card and the matches are only 8, 10 minutes.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
rather have matches be a little bit longer, tell the story. So night two, I would say was better than night one, but just overall, both nights, fantastic, fantastic show. I hope WrestleMania can be half as good.
Oh
To
well,
be
let's
honest with
hope.
you.
Let's hope. But we know that like WrestleMania, they're still unsure about what's going to happen throughout the whole show. There's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of uncertainty when it
Hmm.
comes. There's a lot of question marks. When it comes to the WrestleMania card, I don't think they even have the winners for the Royal Rumble yet. But like we will be covering all of this because this, guys. So I don't
Hmm.
have to reiterate myself, but I will. When wrestling never stops, and neither do we. We're never gonna stop. It doesn't matter if I lose my sleep. If Jean Paul never sleeps again, then I'll get a go to sleep club, and it will be fine.
Yeah,
So, guys, I
exactly.
want to thank every single one of you for like watching this video. I think that like you and me have covered everything. We don't have anything more to say when it comes to Wrestle Kingdom. So for the ones that like are subscribing right now, thank you very much for being part of our family. Don't forget to follow us. As you can see in our new beautiful template, there's the places that you guys can find us. And in the name of Jean Paul and myself, we want to say, uh,
Ah,